Hello, and welcome to today's review of Outlaw King, a Netflix film that released on November 9th, 2018. This film is set in Scotland in 1304, where Robert the Bruce, played by Chris Pine, and other Scottish nobility were there surrendering to King Edward I of England, played by Stephen Delaney, at the Siege of Stirling Castle. But the story really doesn't pick up until about 2 years later, after the death of Robert's father, where he is delivering taxes at Berwick, where he sees the unrest of the Scottish people, specifically stemming from the quartered body of William Wallace on display. This eventually leads to him being crowned King of the Scots, and the first war, and his involvement in the first war of the Scottish independence. While we're speaking of the War of Scottish Independence, the battles are particularly violent and bloody, as per most Netflix original films that center on action. But it's not just the battles that are particularly bloody and violent. There are some non-battle scenes that are particularly graphic. There is one scene where a man is hanged and he's cut open from sternum to belly, and his guts are shown hanging. It's rather gruesome. Even with the violence, it is kind of a surprise at how character-driven this film is. While no one particular actor gives an outstanding performance, there were good performances throughout the film, even though some of the Scottish accents didn't quite seem right, though they didn't seem too terribly bad either. I would just go with that they were kind of inconsistent throughout the film. From Chris Pine and Aaron, I believe it's Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's the other American actor in this film. Speaking of how character-driven this film is, there has been a lot of controversy around this film over the full frontal nudity, specifically from Chris Pine. Though when I watched the film, I didn't fully see nudity from him. I did see, you could tell that he was nude, but you didn't see anything graphic. You only saw pubic hair and above. The actress that played his wife, whose name is escaping me right now, she was also fully nude, and they did the same thing, showing her from hip bones up, not showing any genital area, but showing her completely topless. And it's interesting and confusing to me at the same time that there would be so much controversy based on Chris Pine's full frontal nudity than hers, or the extreme graphic violence in the film. And even when the film, the nudity, and in retrospect some of the violence, it is all character development for Robert the Bruce. It shows really the connection and the bond that formed between Robert and his wife, and then the loss and the brutal loss that is attributed to Robert from the English. I did find myself wondering throughout the film, when I looked past the one scene of nudity and the extreme graphic violence, there were a lot of traveling. Robert the Bruce and other characters riding horses through fields, and you can tell that there were paths walked through from these horses, and it made me wonder if these paths that these true historical people took, if they're now where our roads are, like our paved roads, our interstate system, and things of that nature, just to wonder if they knew exactly the best routes to take, if we know the best routes to take. And it was just something that caught me throughout the film. I wouldn't go so far as to say that this film is particularly good, but at the same time it's not particularly bad. There are decent performances throughout the cast. There really isn't a poor performance, but there isn't one that's truly outstanding. This film definitely isn't for younger audiences. There's just too much violence, too much blood, too much language even. I don't know if it's an accurate representation of early 14th century Scottish life, but I could see how warfare it would be. Is it a film that I would recommend for most adult audiences? No, not really. I mean, if you like historical settings and if you like Chris Pine, sure, it's an okay film to watch, but it's not one that I would go out and say that you absolutely have to watch it. I enjoyed myself, but I have no intention to see it again. I might, but it's unlikely. With that said, if you do check out this film, let me know in the comments below and give me a like and a subscribe, and I will see you next time. And until then, I hope you all have a great night.